Hey guys, this is TheEnder bringing you Game 3 of the round of 8 best of 5 series between Mind and Free. This is the Sonic All-Stars tournament. So last game we saw Free even up the score using a very early probe sent across the map. He made a single proxy gateway and somehow or another, even with the anti-zealot wall-in features that Mind built his buildings like that, and he even scouted for proxies, but he didn't find it, and he was forced to tap out. So this is rather interesting, because I mean we saw in both games, it was like Mind knew Free was going to try some cheese, and he scouted for it in both games. In the first game he didn't find anything, and he played a normal game, and he won. Game 2, he looked for it inside his main base, but it was actually behind the natural, which is a really weird positioning. Normally there's not enough room there. I mean, of course, if it gets scouted, you're going to lose that so fast. But yeah, so that happened. So once again, I would really expect Mind to do some more searching for proxies. I mean, I'm going to be honest, I don't like playing Protoss versus Terran either. I might expect some kind of a crazy rush. But yeah, well, we should expect Mind to look for it again, since he looked for it in the last 2 games, and in the last game he lost to it. So we'll see how that influences his build. Free, on the other hand, I guess he sort of admits that he's the lesser player in this situation. I mean, I want to say we saw because in his round of 16 games, we saw, 4, 5 games from him, and of those 5 games, 2 of them were also cheese, like, gateway first, not gateway first, but like double gateway against Zerg. So yeah, that's actually almost half of Free games it appears he's pulled out some cheese. That's a lot. I mean, most players only throw it in once a series every 5 games or something, but Free's doing it like every other game. So if you have a safe build, probably should go for it. Anyways, this time around, we are on Circuit Breaker, and it doesn't look like Mind's actually scouting for any type of proxy. He's instead going for a 1-Rax expand. We haven't had any gas. He hasn't put down any gas yet, so he's definitely gonna. Yeah, there. The command center just went down. You can see it on the minimap. So yeah, perhaps this is a better map to defend. It's easier to make a wall or something, so he doesn't have to worry about the scouting it. Or maybe he's just played this map a lot, and so he's more used to defending all kinds of rushes on it. But alright, Free is not cheesing, so good for him. He went for a Goon first, skipped the initial Zealot, took down the scouting SCV really quickly. I think that was a bit of a mistake from Mind. And now he's going for that expansion, which, I mean, of course, when you play against any matchup, really, the moment the scouting worker goes down, that's when you want to make your first move. I like that move from Mind. He said, hey, you killed my scouting worker fast, I'm going to kill yours before you can even see what's going on. So he sent his Marines across the map. Now, that being said, I want to say it wasn't Mind, it was someone else. Was it Haya? I don't think it was Haya. Maybe it was Mong? We saw another game in the round of 16 where something funny like that happened, where the Marines, they went across one bridge to go and look for like a scouting worker, and instead it was like Dragoons, and the Dragoons somehow got between the Marines and the bunker, and so that was just terrible then, because, here the Marines are trying to get to the bunker. Get to the bunker! But the Goons were already there, and it was slaughter. But it was a nice little pickup from Mind, and now since Free can't even see if there's the natural expansion is down, he's just got to assume it's down and maybe play a little bit safer or take the risk or whatever it is. Wow, two rather stupid goons let that SCV in. That was a bit of a mistake. So, Mind is getting his scout. Very soon, 4 Dragoons will be hitting the bunker. But he's got 4 SCVs there, so can they reach it? Oh, yeah. So you can only fit 3 SCVs on that side, and so if he, yeah. So the problem was if, ooh, 6. That tank better hurry. So if the SCV went on the top side, the goons would be able to range the SCV and start picking away at the SCVs, which is much more expensive than picking up the bunker. So he had to lift off the barracks so that the SCV could get on the bottom side. But oh, this is not, this could, oh man, it's so the Reens are being unloaded because they want to absorb some shots and then, you know, mess with the goon AI. Man, that was close. I don't know if Free did anything, maybe, I don't know what he did to get those goons out so fast, but yeah, that was, game could have ended right there. But tanks are out, siege is done, so the goons, I mean, they could try to assault it, but it just takes so much casualties from the bunker and the tanks. You know, siege tanks versus goons is not a fight you want to, you know, be included in as a goon. That's an odd positioning for the barracks. Not sure why it's that far out. But okay, we saw the Robo, and now a third base from Free. So it looks like he's actually going for a pretty standard follow-up. Of course, as a Protoss, you want to stay a base or so ahead of the Terran, since the Terran units, like the siege tanks, are so much more cost-effective. And then of course you need that Robo so that you're early good Dragoons, because you'll always go for early Dragoons. They'll be able to do some mine clearing and push back the enemy vultures. And then of course the Terran goes for enemy vultures. Sorry, Terran goes for vultures. Vultures lay mines everywhere to give them map control, map vision. Siege tanks are very expensive and they'll be built up over time and saved, while the much cheaper vultures will just be more annoying and harassment type units that will provide a little bit of map control. For example, that one Dragoon goes down, and in exchange, 1 vulture died and several vultures took some damage. But I mean, when you start looking at the numbers, vultures only cost 75 minerals. So that single Dragoon that went down, I mean, that's 175 resources total, because they're 125 minerals, 50 gas. So that's a pretty decent trade for the Terran. And in the meantime, he's already got his third base going up as well. I don't even think the probe transfer got to Free's base yet. Maybe just now. Very good. So Free's done pretty much a complete wall off on that third base with pylons, so that vultures can't, you know, come in and assassinate all the probes. That being said, there could be some problems if Mind gets a dropship. Or you could just do that, yeah. That was like 3 probes are almost free. Oh, and that's terrible because his name's Free too. Oh, free probes from Free. And poor observer control. So, let's see. So we saw the archives, and yes, archives on Stargate means he's going for arbiters. And of course, arbiters are nice because, you know, the stasis will reduce the number of tanks you have to fight. That barracks positioning is just so weird. I don't know what it's doing there. It's not walling in, it's not providing, like, high ground vision. That's just so weird. I'm not... sorry, little things that annoy me. Oddly placed barracks. But yeah, so arbiters have stasis, they have recall, And of course, recall is really good for abusing Terran immobility. And you say, what? Vultures are super mobile. Yeah, but tanks aren't. You gotta unsiege them, you gotta run them to where you want them to fight, and then you gotta re-siege them. And it's just, it takes so much time. During that entire time, the Protoss army is destroying your main or destroying your base, killing your SCVs. So Arbiters is really, really good at taking care of that. Alright, 4th base for Mind, 4th base for Free. Free's base is slightly ahead. Is it enough ahead, I guess is the question, since Protoss should be mining, more than the Terran. I would say no. In fact, this is an odd... I say it's an odd 4th base positioning. It looks like it's a really normal one, since, Free is expanding away from his opponent. And that's what you're supposed to do as Protoss. But I say it's odd because usually by the time you get your 4th base as Protoss, you're approaching max supply, and you really want to get another main base so that you can have a second area to make your gateways. And of course you need 2 areas of gateways so that in the event that your main base gets sieged, you can come in from behind and launch a 2-pronged attack. Because otherwise, you're never going to break down a ramp into a Terran army. Just like never. It doesn't work. The ramp funnels your troops down, and tanks can just endlessly kill you. Alright, so we have Vultures trading for probes. And even though it didn't look like it was that good of an attack for Mind, since he lost all his Vultures, Vultures is just so cost-effective. We saw that same group of Vultures already killed a Dragoon, and we already pointed out that Dragoon was worth about 2 Vultures. Those same Vultures already killed about 3 probes at the 3rd base. And remember, Vultures are literally just barely more expensive than a probe. So of those 6 Vultures, all they had to do is get, 6 to 9 probe kills and they're ahead. And, because, they've already laid their mines. But, yeah, so you trade away those cheap old mineral units, you keep your gas units, aka the siege tanks, your vessels, and you build up a force that, the Protoss really can't deal with. And it's pretty similar on the Protoss side. Once again, you make your Dragoons, and you actually go marauding with your Dragoons, and you clear out the spider mines like you see Free doing here. But you want to keep them alive, you don't want to engage the tanks. And then when you're ready to attack, and only when you're ready to attack, you start building Zealots. And that's because Zealots have very little, very, very little microwing potential. Yeah, alright, so that's that second gateway farm I was talking about for Free. But yeah, since Zealots have very little micro potential, and since there's going to be Vultures all over the map, and Vultures are very good against Zealots, you don't build your Zealots until you're ready to attack. And then you do that, you save your gas goes into your Arbiters. You want to save the Arbiters as long as possible so you can get as many spells off them as possible. And good stuff. Alright, so Free is getting his 5th and 6th bases, which, let's be honest, if he can hold those 6 bases, that's going to be really nice for him going into the late game. Mind is only on 4 bases, but for a Terran, 4 bases is a ton. A lot of Terrans will max out on 3 bases, and then they'll just do this death march and just completely go and destroy the Protoss army, and then the Protoss base, and the other Protoss base. It's so scary to go up against. So I don't expect either player to attack right now until they're maxed or about maxed. Alright, so Free has +1 attack for the ground. I assume by now Mind is getting pretty close to his 2-1. But right now he's at his 1 attack, 0 armor. But as you can see, he's rather Vulture heavy. I didn't see too many tanks. Ooh! Opportunity to snipe Templar. 1 Templar down, 2 Templar down, 3 Templar down, 4 Templar down, 5 Templar down. 5 Templar sniped without a single storm going down. That's a lot of gas, man. That's at least 2 Arbiters worth of gas. Honestly, Psystorm is not as good versus Terran as the other races. And, I mean, the main reason for that is just Terran units are so long range. And you know, Templar die in, like, you know, 2 tank hits or a couple of vulture hits. So, more Templar. Alright, Terran is pushing out. Tanks are on siege, they're pushing out. There's several Goliaths to deal with the several Arbiters that should be out. That being said, I don't remember... I mean, I saw the Arbiter tech, I don't remember seeing the Arbiters. Alright, and the last Templar is sniped. Oh, and another Templar. So we have had 7 Templar sniped, 0 Storms. Looks like there's 2 Arbiters on the field, but they're away from the main army. Possibly because they don't want to get EMP'd by those vessels. A single Templar left. Can he even it up? Which will we have? More Templar sniped or more Storms cast during this game? EMP! Alright, EMP hit. So, in addition to knocking out shields, EMP knocks out energy, so all of a sudden it goes from, you know, I can cast a recall to no recall and half-life gone. There is a funny thing that you may see from time to time, and that is recall... Oh, man. Another Arbiter came in, and it recalled roughly 10... Was there a D-web on that Zealot? That's kind of BM. I like it. But yeah, 10 Dragoons, they got recalled in, but they landed on mines. They just died instantly. And that one Zealot that lived, just as a show of, hey look, I can defensive matrix your units rather than mine and win. That was sort of what we were seeing there from mine. Alright, so we had a storm go down. So we have had 9 Templar sniped, and oh, that's 2 Storms now. Alright. 9 Templar sniped, 2 Storms casted. Alright. Free is on a roll. He has doubled the number of Storms he has casted, and he's in the number of units that have been sniped has only gone up by 50%. So we've seen 2 Arbiters go down. And I'm assuming that one that, you know, had that super failed recall that lost all the goons, I'm assuming that Arbiter went down since there's so many turrets. Alright, we had 1 more Storm, and a second Storm. Alright, 2 Psy Storms will take out siege tanks. More Psy Storms, good, finally. And another Storm, not bad. A 5th Storm. Alright, side engagement went pretty decently, in my opinion, for Free. It's true he did lose the majority of his army, but we've seen he's on like 6 bases, so he should be able to rebuild pretty fast. Protoss units build a whole lot faster than Terran units, and the production facilities are so much cheaper. Another Templar gets sniped. They should make this a drinking game. You gotta take a shot every time a Templar gets sniped. That could actually be like really costly on the alcohol side. But yeah, since Terran units, they literally just they build slowly, and then factories are so expensive. I mean, factories twice as expensive as the Gateway. So as a Protoss, it's completely normal to throw your army at the Terran army, and if you take out 2/3 of it, you've done a pretty darn good job. So we've got that hero Arbiter that doesn't have any energy, but it just using its 8 attack is taking out some siege tanks. That's kind of funny. Wow, was that 2-3? Yes, 2-3 upgrades on the mech. 2 armor, 3 attack. Probably only have like 2-0. No, we got alright, so we got 3-0 from Protoss. Oh, but Free is completely engaging wrong. So I don't know if you saw that right now, but those Zealots, when they ran in, they attacked the spider mine. So that's wrong for 2 different reasons. It should be on the move command when trying to close, and that's because 1, you don't want them to slow down when they hit those those mines, because they're going to die to the mines. But the point is, zealots don't actually do their melee damage as their primary damage in combat when you're fighting mech. The majority of the damage that your zealots actually do is caused by the tanks splashing each other when they, because the zealots are right up against those tanks. So that's why sometimes they call it zealot bombing. You run your zealots up to the enemy army, and the siege tanks fire on their own units trying to kill the zealots. That being said, since it is 6 bases, Free is just winning these fights on sheer weight of numbers. Massive units. We saw a little bit of a flank coming in because he has that second farm of gateways, and that's a really good strategy when you have 2 bases, when you're 2 bases up on your opponent. And I mean, it's true they're not fully saturated bases, but he has them, and especially since it looks like his main and his natural are mined out, he really needs those extra bases. That being said, Mind is doing a pretty darn good job in that he is focusing his attacks on the fresh bases rather than the like the main. So of course you always think, oh, what part of your enemy are you going to attack? You're going to attack their main because that's where their production is. Well, production is split, tech is split, and the mining is focused almost entirely on the middle to the left side of the map. So that's really where Mind wants to be attacking. So Mind is also taking the 3 o'clock expansion, and of course that is a pretty decent one to take, because Terran wants to expand towards their opponent, because they want to do the attacking while they're defending. So they take a new base, and then from that new base they can use that as a staging point. Keep their tanks unreachable to the Protoss army, but still being able to shell. But that is bringing a little bit of a, he's trying to attack to the bases to the left because that's where their mining is, but he wants to push towards the main, and he's mining towards the right, so it's a bit of a, slightly suboptimal, but, both are valid points, valid ideas for, what he's doing. But man, we gotta just freeze units. There's so many of them. They keep dying, but they keep coming back. And he's actually pretty light on the Arbiters. I just saw 2 Arbiters off to the left of my screen right there. But considering how many bases he's on, I mean, Free could really afford to get, double Starport Arbiter, so we can actually get some decent recalls. I mean, even if you can't recall on the top of the bases, because there's mines and you can't see the mines because, you can't get your observers in because there's all the turrets, I mean, you can still recall on top of the army. And that can be just simply devastating, because the majority of the damage that a Terran does, yes, the majority of damage that a Terran does comes from the time when the Protoss is just closing with the army, not when, I mean, they can't even attack the tanks right there, and they're losing so much. But imagine it, see that Arbiter, there's no anti-air, and if it just recalled on top of him, rather than stasising in the wrong order, it'd just be so devastating. So much more devastating. So when I say stasising in the wrong order, you're supposed to stasis the back tanks first. And that's because you don't want to stasis the front tanks, because then you're going to block your own units from being able to attack the back units. So you stasis the back units first. And then you did correctly, stasis them in clumps. So the idea is, you stasis, section 1, wait a few seconds, section 2, you move in with your army, you destroy the unstasised units, and then, as the stasis units become unstasised, since some of them become unstasised at a time, then you can, of course, clean those up real quick. The next set becomes unstasised, but he got the second part, but he didn't get the first part. He stasised them in groups, but he did front first rather than back first. But so Free is eventually getting up to a problem here, and that is Mind is on 6 bases now. He's got his main, his natural, his third. He's got the 3 o'clock, the 6 o'clock, and then like the 7 o'clock. So 6 bases. Free's been on 6 bases for the last, it's been a while, like, 5 or so minutes. So he's mined out 3 of his bases. Oh, he took a 7th. But the point is, he's really not taking that many more new bases, whereas Mind is, and Mind is still pushing. So whatever Free's going for, he needs to, he needs to get some work done. Change it up. We really haven't seen him do that much with the Arbiters. I mean, we saw like 3 stasises, we saw an Arbiter die before it recalled, we saw an Arbiter die after it recalled, and the recalled army got instantly destroyed. But man, he needs to do something. When you've got this much in resources, and this much in mining, this is actually, in my opinion, an optimal time to go for like carriers. Yes, carriers take forever to build, but I mean, you've got so much money, you can get the infrastructure when your army is maxed, and then just like, well, surprise, carriers. But instead he's gone for Templar, and for the most part these Templar have just like died. They just wait for the vultures to kill them, or just plain out die. oh. So we saw that defensive matrix on the Zealot after that failed recall. So now Free, he denied the bottom left position, and he put a Nexus there next to the next to that comsat station. So little BM from each player. Of course, you always want. I'm not sure why he's remaking a forge there. Surely he's got forges already, since he already has upgrades. Oh, but no, he lost it because he was at his 3rd base and the Terran pushed in. But yeah, so a little bit of funniness from both players. You gotta pull out Free, you can't win that fight, you've only got Dragoons. Zealots come in from a side. Oh, there we go. So we had a recall on top of the army, and it was a pretty Zealot-heavy recall. There we go. Double recall on the army. That is what you need. That being said, it was mistimed, and we had Dragoons just running in by themselves, dying instantly. So I like the idea there. I really like that idea. But I think the coordination was suboptimal. I say that probably too much, but I like to say it. And I feel like it fits the situation so well. But alright, 3-3 mech, and it's going up against 3 attack Protoss, and I saw 1 armor, 1 shield. Usually you don't see those upgrades coming too much, because, I mean, they take a while, they're, expensive, they take resources. But when you're on 6 or 7 or 8 bases, why not? But, a few command centers. Uh-oh. Cannon defense and a single Templar, but there's a drop. Will we see the Storm or the Snipe? Storm or Snipe, come on. And, yeah, Zerbert doesn't want to watch. Come on, more Snipes. We gotta have some more Snipes. Oh, come on. Lame vultures. Oh. Luckily that 1 mine took out the 2nd mine, so those Dragoons didn't die instantly. But alright, decent Storm. And it gets cleaned up without the Nexus dying. I cannot believe it. So Free has so much gas, he's actually making Archons, which Archons versus mech is just silly because a single EMP and the Archon has 10 HP left. I mean, that's just such a weird call. You shouldn't have that much gas. If you do have that much gas, you should be making more Arbiters, or, get some carrier tech out. I mean, make it annoying, I mean, there's nothing a Terran thinks is more annoying than, having to go for, like, Mass Goliaths, because there's the threat of carriers. But yeah, so we got some Storms on the ramp, which, and some trapped SCVs. So we made another gateway farm at the bottom left position, which is... I mean, I sort of understand why. He doesn't want to have to, try and send his forces across the map to help it out. But he's just gonna lose it all, yeah, because I mean the Terran armies are right there. Archon Templar combo, trying to avoid the mines. He's like, hey buddy, I got you. I can't trigger these mines, so I will protect you. Alright, so we got a lot of Terran army in the bottom left, and we should have a lot of Arbiters and a lot of energy for the Protoss. I think that would be a very good position to recall onto, because if the tanks are sieged, you know, the recall on top of them will do a ton of damage. If they're unsieged, they won't be able to fight. And they haven't been there long enough to throw up turrets. I don't think they've actually mined it. But then, of course, you know, Free can't see what we see. So, you know, it's not even like hindsight is 20/20, it's like omniscient vision is 20/20, something like that. So because the majority of the army is on the left, for mined, Free decides, hey, I'll just, you know, I'll attack your main. But once again, he's doing it wrong with the Zealots. He wasn't running them, he was A-moving them. And you don't want to A-move Zealots versus mines, you want to just run them through. Alright, so we have a good stasis on some of the back tanks, and if Free moves his army to the right, he can avoid the majority of the army. Yes, and he started to. He started to. Alright, keep going, yes, keep running. But I'm not seeing much in terms of reinforcements from Free. Free could be getting pretty... No, I say he's getting close to mined out, but no, he's got minerals at 3 bases still. Alright, so there's some reinforcements. And he lost a lot, and I mean a lot. But he finally did some almost damage to mined. Alright, so mined is on 3 bases, all on the bottom left. Free is on 3 bases, all on the top left. No attack upgrade, so probably no carrier tech. Just floods the gateway units, run into their death against the Terran metal. As far as the drinking game goes, you know, we've been seeing a whole lot more storms and not as many snipes. Oh, that's a lot of tanks. But that's a lot of Protoss. And that's stuff. Alright, so we finally saw... What? The stasis caught the Zealot. But it also caught a vessel. Oh, but there's... Oh, so many tanks. So many tanks, and he's coming across bridges. Alright, so that was a good recall on top of the tanks. That being said, there's... The defensive power of Terran is just so strong. You take tanks, you spread them out. Protoss really just cannot trade cost-effectively against them. I mean, you gotta pull the army. You gotta recall where the Terran army is not. Carrier attack or something. I think the problem is, if you come in a Terran army head-on, and they've got the bases, they've got the resources, they've got the upgrades, you just can't come at them head-on. I mean, that's... You know. And yeah, Zealot Heavy will do slightly better against, you know, Tank Heavy, but, you know, you gotta control them right. You gotta run them past the mines so that you can drag the mines into the tanks. You gotta get the tanks to hit themselves. And you cannot fight on bridges. Never. Never fight on bridges. Alright. So we got some Zealots running through mines. That's better than attacking them. And because Mind actually didn't lose a lot in that last battle, he doesn't have too much in terms of reinforcements coming in here. His tanks are on the other side of the map, so we could see a little bit of an interesting situation. It's interesting because of all this, you know, all the stuff that Mind has. You know, he's having trouble getting his men all the way to the other side of the map, and since he's not Protoss, he only has one set of not gateways. He only has one set of factories. Alright, so the natural goes down, but there wasn't really much there to worry about. The army... Oh man, it looks like the army ran in, and it ran smack dab. It's getting a bit of a flank from the reinforcements from Free. He's actually doing a lot of work on this one. He got a lot of tanks there, and the tanks aren't sieged, and he has no, like, siege position. Oh, that mine could have been... That mine could have even been cooler. This is actually a pretty bad situation for Mind here. I mean, he lost a whole lot of stuff, and he just doesn't have... I mean, he barely held the main. Oh man, you saw those busted buildings. Oh, but it looks like it's almost game over anyway, because Free, he just mined out his 5th and 6th bases. So he's got, at the 11 o'clock position, a single mineral-only base that's mining. And yeah, he's got like 4 patches at that base. That's like half a base. It looks like he never actually took the gas at his 5th base. Just, you know, I mean, he doesn't know how to spend it. He's been getting Templar and Archons and not doing much with them. But this is a pretty good decision. So he whittled down the army super a lot. And so the army that is remaining for Mind has to stay at the home and guard the production. So in the meantime, Free is just gonna, you know, he's gonna move across the map and see what he can do. You know, attack the mining bases for Mind. Oh, but it looks like okay, Mind still has a pretty decent army here. And of course, we once again run into that bridge thing. And by bridge thing, I mean you don't want to go against bridges into a Terran army. It's suicide. And GG from Free. He's practically mined out. Mind had I mean, he had the mining bases that were fresh. And Free just couldn't break him. But, okay. So GG. We have a score now of 2-1 in favor of Mind over Free. And we are heading into Game 4. So, see you then.